Hello everybody, um, welcome back to another video on the channel again, and today I'm going to be doing something else, another ranking video. And if you're wondering why I'm in an opposition and why I'm feeling such incredible pain surging through my entire spine, is my butt aches. I do not even know why I announced it. Anywho, back onto the point. Today I'm going to be ranking all 10 Fast and Furious movies with F9. Now, since it's still August and it's only been a month since the movie came out, it only came out around mid-July, around July 20-something. Make sure you guys have watched it, because spoilers for F9, and I'm adding Hobbs and Shaw into this, and so yeah. And I'm very excited to see what it is, and yeah. I can't wait to see what the next installment, Fast 10, will be doing for the Fast family. So yeah, and the second Hobbs and Shaw movie, which will be, yeah, there'll be probably a second Hobbs and Shaw movie and some female spin-off and 2 sequels to Fast and Furious, which is cool. Continuing, I'll continue and start the video with at number 10. But before, remember, this is my opinion. Everything I say here is mine. So, if there's a Fast and Furious movie you don't really like that's higher than the other ones, my apologies. I like what I like. You judge me, then just put it on the comments below. But please keep it clean. I don't feel like getting screwed over. Please don't screw me over. Just please keep it clean. Don't put any gift bombs in. I've already seen YouTubers who've looked at very brightly done comments about Bleach and movies. But nonetheless, let's get into it. And number 10 is Fast and Furious 4. This movie, in my opinion, is my least favorite to watch. I don't watch it. I watch clips of it. I like watching the racing bits. It's a boring movie. I can kind of see why they're trying to change up the formula. I'd rather watch the first 3 movies, even though they're distant from each other. This is Jason Lin's second Fast and Furious movie, his first one being Tokyo Drift. This is a better movie since it now is a more back-to-basics movie, since the second and third ignored the classicness, the fourth one, and it really dealt with Brian's regret, treating him more like the bad guy, since, well, in the first film, for those who have not seen it, but screw it, since it came out in 2001, you guys should have seen it by now. He got Dom in trouble with Dom. Brian was undercover and snuck into their gang of thieves and busted them, and Dom had to go on the run. And so this film questions whether or not Brian was doing the right thing doing that. It also ends on the note where Fast 5, the first Fast and Furious film I ever watched, picks up on. It's a very good movie. I like the look of the cars. The aesthetic is very different from the next few movies. It's a much more dark and toned film, whereas the other ones future ones take a less dark and toned feel and feel more lighthearted. But overall, the film's alright, but overall, it's my one I would never really watch. It was released during the 2009 writer strike, and plus the death of the lady is weak in my opinion, since she literally gets revived in the 6th film and was a character, no offense, I never really cared for. But the film was still decent. I liked it, and the storylines were decent, but I overall liked the one that came before it or after it, so I'd rather watch the other ones. And number 9 is The Fate of the Furious. To some of you who love this movie, this will shock you that this movie's on here. And some of you people who like this movie will probably question, why did I put one of your favorite movies at this list? It's simply because of Paul Walker. As people know, Paul Walker played ex-cop, ex-FBI agent, and Dominic Toretto's best friend and Mia's husband, Brian O'Connor. Paul Walker sadly passed away in a car crash in November with a friend of his. He passed away in the car crash, and so the 7th film had to finish shooting without him. So he was sadly excluded. He was fortunately excluded from the 8th film, obviously to preserve his legacy. He was written out of the franchise, which is why the 8th film suffers this, in my opinion. The 8th film suffers from it, and it just even enraged a lot of fans for continuing the franchise without Paul Walker's character. I was confused since I didn't exactly have an understanding of what happened when actors died off screen, because this is the first time it happened for me. Because most of the franchise I watched, they either changed them and I didn't notice, or, yeah. This is the first movie I never really found likable. It was odd, and it was weird, and it was a hard movie to try and get used to. The fact I love the story, I love it, and I really would like to see the dynamic have Paul Walker's character being integrated into this. It's so hard trying to watch it because the story, in my opinion, suffers without Paul Walker. But without that, it's nice seeing Scott Eastwood, the legendary Clint Eastwood's son. It's nice seeing The Rock again. Although it sucks that this movie starts off that this is where the feud between The Rock and Vin Diesel finally arises. So yeah, and I'll explain more of that in a later film. But this movie is overall good. I like it. It's alright, and yeah. I'm sad with how they treat Elena, a very badass character that James Wan, who directed the last movie Furious 7, and Jason Lynn treated her with a very good character. And this one just treats her as a damsel in distress who gets killed. But it's a very good storyline nonetheless. So yeah, and I like how his name's Brian after. So we get one mentioning of Brian's character in this film. But overall, it's hard for me to watch it and suffers without Paul Walker. And number 8 is Tokyo Drift. I thought to put this higher, but I put it lower. But this film, nonetheless, I love this movie. No one can deter me from loving it. I just put it here because it's a bit of a weird one. It removes all the main cast, and it's one of the early out of four. It's the first movie out of 4 films where Brian O'Connor isn't in the film. It's overall a good movie, and in fact, the Dominic Toretto scene was not in the original drafts for the film. When they showed it the test audiences, they didn't like it, and so they went to Vin Diesel and asked him if he would come to do a cameo appearance in the film. Vin Diesel thought about it and didn't want to say yes due to the fact he thought that he'd already left the franchise by that point, but thought maybe convincing them maybe if he did a 4th film and helped become a producer on those films, then he would think about it. And so he said yes, but on 2 conditions. Number 1, he got to pick the car he was in, which was the Plymouth Road Fury. And another thing, I forgot what it was, but it was on 2 conditions, and Universal obliged. Oh yeah, I forgot. The first condition that he would appear in Tokyo Drift was that he would get to pick his own car. It was the Plymouth Road Fury. I even have a car model of it, a diecast model of it in my house, somewhere around here. I don't store my stuff in here, it's because it's my bedroom. It's meant for me to sleep and film it. Anywho, he also asked for the Chronicles of Riddick franchise rights, so his company, Original Films, I think, could make the next movies, so yeah. I've never seen them in my life. My mother's seen them, and she loves those movies, because she loves anything with Vin Diesel in it, and The Rock. But yeah, besides that, I like Sean Boswell. He's a good protagonist, but it's weird because this still keeps the concept of them getting college-age people to play people who are in their 20s to try and play teenagers. He is in canon the youngest actor in the Fast and Furious franchise, being 16 or 17 years old. It's a unique entry, and I like Han, and his death scene's very sad, and I really like how the 4th, 5th, and 6th film really back that up. So yeah. Although spoilers that the whole thing happened after that was very mysterious, but besides that, it's a great movie, and I find it very cool. It's distant from the first 2 films, and there are many different reasons why it's so different. Apparently, in one source on IMDb, they said they didn't want, Universal themselves didn't want to bring back Paul Walker because they thought he was too old, which makes no sense. The one on Wikipedia says they couldn't secure all the old actors. I do believe that because, Vin Diesel said himself he didn't want to do it. I believe Paul Walker would have wanted to do it, but he probably was a bit busy. Plus, not to mention the drifting thing. Drifting was popular during 2006, and so was Bow Wow. So yeah. And since this film got retconned and got set into 2014, so yeah. It's a very confusing entry, and it confuses the franchise. But for those like me who are timeline fanatics and like putting things in order, it doesn't feel too complicated for me. And yeah. But it's a good movie, and I like it's Jason Lynch's first Fast and Furious movie, and it wouldn't be his last. And I'm very glad he went on to direct my favorite movie in the franchise. That and yeah, and he brought in Sung Kang from Better Luck Tomorrow. Better Luck Tomorrow is canon in the Fast and Furious universe because it's Han's origin story. It shows him back in his school days when he was leaving his school days into his adulthood, and then we jump to Los Bandoleros, which is where he continues his timeline, and then Fast and Furious 4. 5, 6, and Tokyo Drift. And then Furious 7 and F9. So I'll explain more when we get up to the later entries. But overall, this movie's good. I like it. It's cool. And it's very unique because I like how it's placed in the timeline. So Fast and Furious 6 at number 7 is Fast and Furious 6. Now, this movie is very alright. I never liked it that much when it came out, but I started getting more liking for it when it did. It really built off the events. Jason Lynn really wanted to try and do a trilogy story where each film would build off what the last movie did. Fast and Furious began it. That was the first one in the set of trilogy. By that point, when they brought Han back, they decided to set it before Tokyo Drift. And so Fast 5, a sequel to that, would continue from what Fast and Furious started, and then Fast and Furious 6 will continue from that, and then jump ahead. And then finally after that, Tokyo Drift would culminate in the ending. Fast and Furious 6 would be the ending of this trilogy. And yeah, and it's The Rock's second appearance in the Fast and Furious franchise, and it's Han's about 4th appearance in the series. Fact, my mother does not know that Han makes an appearance in the fourth film. He does indeed make an appearance in that film, but for those who know about it, it's a very small appearance, but it still makes more connection nonetheless. And another fact they brought from Better Luck Tomorrow is Han's smoking issue. He smoked in that movie, and in this one you see in all the Fast and Furious movies, Sung Kang's Han Lu appears in, that's his real last name in the film. He is eating food. It's to get over a smoking addiction, so normally when people replace their addictions, they do something different. I've done that before, and it's just some very interesting results. I don't smoke. I'm not even. I don't want to smoke because that. Don't think I do that. I don't do that. But there are other addictions. I'm trying to get over with other options. Okay, so don't think I smoke. Please don't ask me that in the comments. It's a very weird question. But continuing, yeah, it's a good movie. I like it, and for once they actually do kill off a character, that being in Giselle, and I'm very hoping she stays dead, because Giselle and Elena staying dead is nice, because none of the characters stay dead in this franchise at all. Vince, Giselle, and Elena, the only three characters that have died and not come back to life. So, and Owen Shaw's a very interesting villain, and this is the first movie where they go into them telling them that they need to save the world, and this is good for the first time, but when they do it in the sequels, they rinse and repeat it so many times, it gets really overdone in my opinion, and very underwhelming. I like the London setting though. It's better than the Brazil setting. I like it. It's very unique, and I really like the ending of the film. It's such a nice ending, and it's sad because it's the last movie, one of the last full movies Paul Walker actually did do. I don't really count Furious 7. He died halfway through making that film, so yeah. But nonetheless, this film's amazing, and I like it. And it ties up all the issues that the film was facing. So yeah. And number 6 is Hobbs and Shaw. This movie is a comedian ride I love. I love all the bantering between Jason Statham and Hobbs. So yeah, and the fact behind this is that during the filming of Fast 5, when they were making the film, somebody tweeted to Vin Diesel on Twitter that he would like to see The Rock and Vin Diesel in a movie. So, Vin Diesel made a call, and later on, Vin Diesel kind of set some things up. The Rock came in and auditioned, because Tommy Lee Jones was going to play Hobbs. I can kind of see, because it was written for him, and The Rock came in. In fact, personal for me, I did not know who he was. I found out his name was Hobbs around the 8th movie, and then found out his name was Lucas Rebecca Hobbs. Which is just so hilarious. This film really expands upon his character and brings back the same actors who played his daughter throughout the 3 movies, the 2 previous movies she appeared in. This was originally apparently from some source. Do I believe this? No. But, so during the filming of the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th, turmoil started boiling between Vin Diesel and The Rock, and soon, by the 8th film, any of the scenes you saw them in together, they barely filmed. It was all stand and double, so yeah. After the 8th movie's premiere, Universal, wanting to keep the character in, decided to make an own spin-off franchise for him to divert to. And apparently they had the idea, it was once an idea, I don't know if it's true, that it was going to be Dom and Hobbs, which would have been an interesting idea. But they cut out Dom and put in Shaw, leading to Hobbs and Shaw being created. And yes, as I do know, as everyone should probably know who's a fan of the Fast and Furious series, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will not be returning for the final 2 Fast and Furious mainline films. He'll be only appearing in the series Hobbs and Shaw as his character Hobbs, which would be sad. And what's saddening is that the movie that comes after Hobbs and Shaw, we never get a mentioning of him, only Deckard Shaw. But I like how whoever his mother is, I forgot her name, gets released from jail. They break her out of jail with the cake at the end of the movie. So yeah, it's a very nice movie. I like Eddie Shaw's character. It's very unique. It's sad they did kill off Owen Shaw off screen. I like Brixton. He's a very unique character, but the franchise they take it in an even weirder direction. Because the first 2 are seemingly grounded from the main Fast and Furious movies. Even the 3rd one by extension. 4th one, very grounded. 5th, yeah. 6th, yes. She feels grounded, but Dark Knight-ish, but Christopher Nolan-ish, but feels very grounded. 7th one, it gets a bit less realistic in the physics and everything, and logic gets tossed out the window by that point now. Fate of the Furious pushes it even further, and this one just pushes it into sci-fi territory, which is weird, considering that's something the Fast and Furious franchise is not like. Somebody dies and gets brought back to life. It's very weird, and it's awkward. And one thing I noticed is that when you look at The Rock, he's only gotten bigger and muscular and muscle, whereas you compare him to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who got smaller in muscle when he became an actor, he got bigger. And that's going the same for John Cena, who a lot of people, for some people for some reason, this is only about 20%, think he's not really that good, while the rest of them think he's very good. I'm among those people, 80% of people that think he is golden. But nonetheless, Hobbs and Shaw is a funny bantering thing. I like the quick and firing banter, and I like it. And it's a very unique way. It's the first spin-off, and I like it. It's overall real good, and I enjoy it. And at number 5, a lot of people are going to question why I put this up here. Too Fast, Too Furious. This was about the second film I watched at the Fast 5. We have a media player that plays us. We have a media player that plays all these movies, old movies. And I've watched, my mum put on Fast 5 one day. I got really hooked on it. We went back to the first one, but it was in Spanish, and I don't really understand Spanish, no offense. So we went to Too Fast, Too Furious, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was bringing back Brian O'Connor's character, which is one reason that I always love this movie. It's Paul Walker's character. Brian O'Connor's my favorite character. No offense, I could connect with Brian O'Connor's character more. I couldn't connect to that one, so I couldn't connect to Vin Diesel. And in fact, behind the scenes, after the first film's making, Rob Cohen automatically said no to making a sequel, and so did Vin Diesel, not really liking the script, and yeah, he thought it would debunk it as a classic, and they were kinda right, but this movie's still good nonetheless. John Singleton keeps the vibe of the franchise and the feel of it going. Jason Lin changes it massively when you watch all 3 of these movies. You can't really count it as a trilogy because they're so distant, and they don't bring back a lot of the characters. When you call it a trilogy, they have to fill a lot of characters. There are some hidden trilogies, like the Glass trilogy, I forgot what it was, but there are trilogies that are secret trilogies, or trilogies that are legendary, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, or the Back to the Future trilogy. There are some trilogies that are not even considered trilogies, like the Transformers movie, the Michael Bay trilogy. Yes, I do consider Transformers having a trilogy. More on that in another video, but nonetheless, this movie's good. It expands upon it. It's weird, but it's weird because none of the other characters returned, but to be honest, I didn't mind none of the other ones returned. I liked Brian, and I love the vibe and the way it feels, and Roman and all that is real. It's a real fun movie, and you cannot have a bad time watching this, in my opinion. No offense to all the Vin Diesel fanboys and girls, or people who dislike this movie. I find it fun. It's a fun adventure, and it's overall awesome, and I love the Miami setting. And I love the turbocharged prelude that takes place prior to this, after the first movie, and before this, Too Fast, Too Furious. And it's weird saying that, because I used to say Fast and Furious 2. But now saying Too Fast, Too Furious, it feels so weird. But it's still a creative title, and I love it, and it's an awesome movie. And the ending is great. They still use some of their weird CGI effects. So yeah, and this is the movie when they start breaking a bit of realism and logic stuff, where they drive a car into a boat and jump off a bridge that's rising up and land and don't crash. Somehow, so yeah. Fact, Paul Walker did get to do some stunts in the film, like the skidding with the Nissan Skyline. He got to do that. Yeah, and he does actually own a Nissan Skyline, and some of those cars did get auctioned off, and his car does appear in Fast and Furious 4. So yeah, this is sadly, well, sort of sadly, the only film John Singleton directs, because the Fast and the Furious was directed by Rob Cohen. After him was John Singleton, who directed Too Fast, Too Furious, and then Jason Lin replaces him for Tokyo Drift, Too Fast and Furious 6, and then after him is James Wan for Furious 7. Then David something Gray directs Fate of the Furious. Kevin Leach directs Hobbs and Shaw, and then Jason Lin is returned to direct Fast and 9. But this movie's fun overall, and I love it. You cannot have a bad time watching this, in my opinion, and you can enjoy it. Yeah, and they do bring back Roman Pierce, which is kind of cool, since he's one of the only returning characters, along with Monica Fluentes, so yeah. And number 2 is the one that started it all, The Fast and the Furious. I was not born when I think about the first 3 movies that came out, I wasn't born yet. I was born by the time the 4th one came out, I was already born. Tokyo Drift came out a year before I was born. Fast and Furious 4, all the way to the current movies and the future ones, I am around for. So yeah. I was very much enjoyed this movie. It was a very good movie. I didn't get to actually watch it in its full glory until we got this little subscription to the streaming service called QuickFlix. And then my nan finally got it for me on DVD, and I was so happy. I got it about in 2015, and I used to watch it round and round. I remember it. I loved it. And I love the Los Angeles scene. It's such a classic street racer movie. And if you watch this, because I watched it in Fast 5 and then Fast and Furious. I watched Fast 5, then Too Fast, Too Furious, then the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious. And then when you watch Fast 6 and 7, when you flash all the way back to the first movie. So if you watch The Fate of the Furious, the 8th movie, and go all the way back to the first one, it feels so different. Because the first two are morely street racer movies. I even talked to somebody I know, someone I'm really good friend with, about these movies and how much they changed, and he got disinterested in the later movies, which is agreeable. This movie is a street racing movie. Rob Cohen did create it. Universal he just pitched it to Universal. I don't know what happened. He pitched it to companies, blah, blah, blah. Universal took it up. They made the movie. Rob Cohen does actually appear. We do see what he looks like. He is the Pizza Hut guy, which is a really cool directed cameo. I think it is the coolest directed cameo to ever be appeared. It doesn't interrupt the film, and it's a funny one. I find it funny and humorous. One plot hole with this movie is Leon. One of the biggest characters I noticed is that he does not appear. He does not reappear. Because, well, we know what happens to all the crew that Dom had. Dominic Toretto is still around now. He's alive and well. He ends up going on the run and then comes back out of hiding to find out Lenny's killer. Then goes to prison, gets broken out of prison, goes on the run, steals money, blah, blah, blah. He's currently alive. And then Vince sadly passed away in Fast 5. Then Jesse got killed in The Fast and the Furious. And then Letty killed, then was secretly retconned back and killed, but actually survived and had amnesia. And Mia, who was not a part of the crew but was alive, and Leon. Yes, his name is Leon. I actually did find it out. I heard the character Dominic Toretto talking to him in one of the clips I watched of the film. It is Leon. He drove a yellow car. Don't know what kind of one it was. But it was still cool, and it was I'm curious as to what happened to him. He either got arrested or went on the run, or changed his name, and yeah. So, this movie's cool still though, and I love it, but there are 3 other movies that take the top spot. But still an action-packed movie that gives you a lot of fun, heart, and action that some of the other movies do all fit in, except for the 4th one. No offense, that one has less heart. But this movie's still great though it's the one that started it all. But if you watch this and then watch the later ones, it gets a bit convoluted in my opinion. So yeah. And number 3 is Furious 7. This is the 7th installment, and it's overall one of my favorites. It tied up the entire timeline nicely, because after you got the Fast and the Furious, which was the starting point. Then you got Too Fast, Too Furious, which finished off Brian O'Connor's story. You got Tokyo Drift, which started off a new story with new characters. When that didn't work, they did Fast and Furious, Fast 5, and Fast and Furious 6, which kind of did a backwards retraction and took place after Too Fast, Too Furious. So they made a short film called Los Bandoleros, which was made by Vin Diesel, which was in between the events of Too Fast, Too Furious and Fast and Furious, because it's the Fast and the Furious. Turbocharged prelude for Too Fast, Too Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Los Bandoleros, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and Furious 7. This one ties up the entire timeline in my opinion, whereas 4, 5, and 6 kind of developed on a backstory for Han and gave him a reason to go and all that. And they really tied it up well with Furious 6 and then just led it into the plot line. And this was the last film Jason Lin directed, leaving this on this note. Furious 7 is picked up by 4th director, I believe. Yeah, 4th director, James Wan. Rob Cohen directed The Fast and the Furious. John Singleton directed Too Fast, Too Furious. And then we had Jason Lin, who directed Fast Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast 4, 5, and 6. And then we had James Wan, who directed Furious 7. I like it. It's a very different film. He takes logic and throws it straight out the window this time. And like John Singleton, just makes it such an unrealistic bag of awesomeness and action. And I really like the way they send off Paul Walker. There were actually about 3 alternate versions of the ending they conceived. The first one was where this was prior to Paul Walker's death. When they were filming the film, they did say that the character Brian, his character would realize that nothing more is more important than his family, and would realize that. But it wouldn't. But unlike the real film we got, he would not stop the Crusades altogether. But he realized that his family comes first more than anything else. But he would still continue to be with Dom, even in the hardship. And you'd realize the family is still more important. But we sadly don't get to see that, since sadly, not long after this idea was put in, long after this idea was put in, Paul Walker died in a car crash, so they had to alter the ending. They considered an ending where it would end the franchise on Furious 7, but they decided to cut that ending and maybe continue with later films, which I think was a better idea, because even without Paul Walker, the franchise can still thrive off other actors that greatly improved the franchise, and I think they could continue, and it was nice. That and Cody Walker and his other brother Caleb, they both came in and worked on shots and got digitally scanned, and they filmed their scenes. The scenes that Paul Walker didn't film used shots from the previous movies. So they used stand-ins, that being Caleb and Cody, used trims and shots from the other movies and CGI to instill Brian O'Connor's character and write him out without dying. So yeah, I really like they didn't kill him off screen like F9 suggested. Like F9 did not. I liked how F9 didn't end up doing that. But this movie really was great. It tied up the timeline well, and it really did well. But there's one continuity issue that Fate of the Furious does contradict with Furious 7. The cell that Deckard Shaw was put in, when in the next movie, he is supposedly that was his cell all along, the one you see in Fate of the Furious. It's hard for me to believe he was transferred to an open general population. They likely changed the to make it a much more cooler fight scene. But yeah, and overall, I like this movie. It's a cool movie. I never understand why they had to remove Paul Walker. I thought he was going to be back in the next one. It confused me a lot. But this movie really tied up Paul Walker's story. I loved it. And it was a very great movie, and I love the See You Again clip. It was very amazingly well done. And I did like the fact that they gave Brian O'Connor's character and Dominic Toretto's, Brian being in his Toyota Supra, and Dominic Toretto being in his 1970s Dodge Charger. But this time the Toyota Supra was in white, and so was Brian, and Dominic Toretto was in silver. Which is a very nice way to send it off, and I liked it. With Brian, Mia, and Jack, along with his daughter, driving off into the sunset. They are likely in the car, just in a different shot, or we're probably just back at the beach. But yeah, I liked it, and it was very awesome seeing him go. It was sad seeing him go, but it was nice that they were able to write the character out and not end it on 7 movies. So yeah. And number 2 is F9. This movie is also this is the 4th movie Jason Lin has directed. He had no plans to return. They were just going to probably keep switching directors. But after the Justice for Han move and some other factors and some convincing, Jason Lin came back to Universal and decided to direct the last 3 Fast and Furious movies. Yes, you heard me right, 3. Fast and Furious 9, 10, and 11. Universal has decided to change their plans now. They're making 11 movies. They may not making 11. The 11 will be the final movie in the main franchise. There will be no saying no to, it will be not the permanent end. There will be continuations with the series Fast and Furious Spy Racers and the Fast and Furious spin-offs. That being the Hobbs and Shaw franchise and the soon-to-be one day all-female-led series, which has been building up slowly. And like I said, Spy Racer show, that's not canon, but it's another way to spin off into different areas and expand upon it. So yeah, F9 is a very unique movie. They bring back all the characters from the Justin Lin films exclusively in movies he made. A lot of the characters he brought back, like Sean. It was nice to see Sean Boswell because I was a fan of his character. It was also nice to see Twinkie. And it was also nice to see all the other characters, and it was nice seeing Han being brought back, but I really don't know why. In the scene, they give a weird reason, because at first, apparently what happened is that originally the scene was that Takashi, one of the characters in Tokyo Drift, who is a friend of Han's, and he was doing business with, realized that he was stealing money from him. And so he went to go confront him and kill him, but it broke out into a fight and led to them chasing throughout the streets. Deckard Shaw caught this in another car and drove off whilst examining the race and hearing where it was. And whilst Han was driving, he hit Han with his car and crashed it. And then chucked the cross necklace at his car, and then caught him and told him about it, and then the car blew up. And then they blew up the Toretto's family home. So yeah, it's a weird way how they do it. I like how they bring back Mr. Nobody, but it's a weird way how they do it. And Jacob is a very nicely done character, but John Cena, we don't see him that much. I even agree, we don't really see him that much. We get explored on his past character, and we finally get Dominic Toretto's father, and we finally see the flashback scene where Dominic Toretto beats up the other driver and causes him to be so physically injured that he's now a high school janitor and doesn't really drive. Which is just so sad yet so funny. And yeah, the idea that, yeah, it's a very cool way they did the flashbacks. Although they did do a bit of changes into that flashback, like how Dom was supposed to be in the stands, I believe, with everyone else, and then his car exploded. So yeah. So yeah. I liked finally seeing Jack Toretto, which is his name. Dominic Toretto's father is Jack Toretto, which explains why their son was named Jack Toretto, and it was nice. And yeah, the film was nice, bringing back a bunch of characters, Mia, and they finally mentioned Brian, because because the eighth film and Hobbs and Shaw Hobbs and Shaw, it was a spin-off. There was no reason to really mention Brian O'Connor, but the eighth movie could have done the least to mention what he was doing, if he was doing all right, how Mia and them were, because Dominic Toretto was like Brian's friend, and Mia is his sister. So yeah. And I like how they brought back Mia, and they really showed us that after losing Jacob, Dominic didn't really trust anybody, and didn't really trust. Felt Vince kind of became like that replacement. Brian and Vince kind of filled the spots of where Jacob was, and in very different aspects. They filled up that hole that was Dominic's heart was hold with the loss of his father and his brother at the same time. And I like the storyline they did for his brother. It's weird because he goes from being a dude who lost a race to being a agent. So yeah, the starting point of his life is that apparently with his life story, he was the second eldest child of the Toretto family. Mia always liked him, and so did Dom. But in the race, Dominic Toretto's father, Jack, wanted to throw out the race. So he did what he did, and so he didn't expect the car. The car ended up getting, one of the other racers clipped him. The car tripped over and exploded. Dominic Toretto and Jacob was horrified with what he had done, and so went over to the other racer who was honoring him and was about to beat him up. Dominic Toretto stepped in and beat him up instead, and so when he found Jacob, he hugged him and got arrested. Then Jacob became a king of street racing in Los Angeles. Then Dominic Toretto came back and gave him mercy. If they raced, whoever won, Jacob would have to leave. Jacob would have to leave. And so Dominic won, Jacob left, and yeah, Dominic became the king of street racing in Los Angeles, and Jacob went to one of Jack's old friends. He raised him, and then later on left and likely did some more street racing illegal activities and was caught. Blah, blah, blah would have happened. He was somehow ran into Mr. Nobody, who would have found his particular set of skills very unique, and then would have hired him to help him do some jobs. After that, he soon would have decided to leave or betray him somehow, and then after that, Jacob decided to keep his necklace and still stay close with Mia Toretto, although Dominic decided to completely not mention him and hated anybody who tried to mention him. Obviously, Letty knew who he was. Vince sadly probably would have known who he was, but Vince sadly passed away in the franchise. The series, not the actor. The actor's still alive, but the character's dead. And then there was Mia, so yeah. But it's weird because, well, yeah, but you can kind of see from the way he actually doesn't like to mention Jacob. So I do like how they added it in. We do get hints of that in the first film, even though he was not even supposed to exist. In the sequel, F9 wasn't even supposed to be existing because, well, the film wasn't going to have a sequel. It's going to be standalone. But thanks to Universal, I'm very happy they did that. They changed it and made it as sequels, which was really great. And I love the ending. Now, spoilers, absolute spoilers. This is one of my favorite endings in the series. Spoiler alert. Brian O'Connor is alive, and it's obviously alive, and it was very glad because at the end of the film, they finally say he realizes that one chair's missing, and they say he's on his way, and we finally hear music, and then we hear a blue Nissan Skyline driving up to the driveway, which is with likely Brian O'Connor with Jack Toretto, and Jack O'Connor or Toretto, and whoever the daughter is, because there was a daughter. That's the reason why Brian left. Mia was pregnant with another baby, and it was a girl. So yeah, it was very cool. And I love the ending, and it was awesome. And I can't wait to see what the future is and see, because it's confirmed that Brian will likely be reappearing, because that'd be disrespectful to the franchise, to Paul, and to everything. So yeah, Jason Lin, well, he really expanded upon Brian's character in the movies he appeared. He directed with him. So yeah. Cody and Caleb Walker confirmed that they would like to come back and finish off Brian's story and really conclude it. And yeah, they said they will come back, and the series, well, it should finish with him. If it finishes with Arm, that's just disrespectful, like I said. So Cody and Caleb Walker have confirmed they are gonna be open to return, and likely will be returning in the sequels to do Fast and Furious and 10 and 11 and whatever else. So yeah, it's going to be very nice, and yeah. But number one is Fast 5. This is my favorite movie of all time. It is one of my favorite movies. It is my first ever movie I was introduced to. If you guys have seen my Transformers video, it was like Transformers 1. I don't have as much nostalgia for this one as I do Transformers. But yet again, I was 6 when I first watched this, and it was an amazing movie. I was 4 when it came out, but I was 6 by the time I actually got to watch it, because my mum put it on. I was way too young to see these movies. I was way too young. But me being a brainless kid who never really knew what the essential, very much more inappropriate kind of stuff they alluded to, I didn't know what the hell it was, because I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like 6, so I don't exactly know, and it was for the better. Because the horrification would all come when I was in intermediate and high school, unfortunately. But yeah, Fast 5 is one of my favorites in the series. I love it. And I can't wait to see what's next. There's no more I can say. It's my favorite. I love it. And I even have the Blu-ray version, which has an extended cut of the film. And I love how the characters get expanded on. Hobbs, all the characters. The ending, it's very climactic. And it's not as cinematic as F9 was. And F9 was good, but just having Paul Walker and being a big Paul, or bringing back all the characters from the first movies, like bringing back Brian O'Connor, Dominic Toretto, and Mia Toretto from Fast and the Furious, bringing Roman Pierce and Tej Parker from Too Fast, Too Furious, bringing back Han from the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, bringing back Rico and Tico from Fast and Furious, and Los Bandoleros, and who else did they bring back? Oh man, and bringing back Giselle from Fast and Furious, and bringing back a bunch of different characters from the Fast and Furious franchise, and introducing new ones like Elena, played by Elsa Pataki, who is Chris Hemsworth's wife in real life, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who plays Luke Hobbs. So this movie overall is a very, very good movie. I like it more than the sequel that comes after, or the movie that came before it. This is Jason Lin's one of Jason Lin's best movies besides F9, and I find it my favorite movie, and it's one of my best. It's one of the best in my opinion. But overall, that's the best Fast and Furious movie, so yeah. But yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments below, and tell me what is your favorite Fast and Furious movie, and what is your least favorite one? What's one you don't really like? Do you think my opinion is good or right? Remember, you can say anything you want in the comments below, and this is, yeah. Just make sure to keep it nice and clean, and yeah. But yeah, nonetheless, make sure you like, subscribe, and click that notification bell wherever you may be hiding on whatever version of YouTube you may be using. So, but yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys another time in another video, and yeah, I can't wait to do it. And I cannot wait to go see the next MCU movie, which is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm going to go see that with my dad, and then after that, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and then, yes, I'm seeing a bunch of those movies, along with Ghostbusters Afterlife in November, which I'm going to see with my mom, and Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'm either going to go see with my mom or a friend of mine. And then I'm going to go see a bunch of next year movies, so yeah, including Indiana Jones 5, which will be awesome to watch. So yeah. And expect a re-ranking next year of Transformers, because I'll be doing that, a re-ranking of the Transformers series, which will be with the new movie. And yes, in December, I've already announced this will be a Spidey month, where I'll be reviewing, looking back and talking, and doing behind-the-scenes stuff on a bunch of old Spider-Man movies, from Spider-Man 1 to the current one, and a bunch of videos relating to Spider-Man content. Enjoy that in December 1st, all the way to December 17th, will be some Spider-Man goods, all a bunch of that. And Venom, I'll be re-ranking it at the end of the year, all Spider-Man movies, and in November will be a Ghostbuster month. I'll be doing a lot on Ghostbusters. And September will be some more MCU kind of celebration, where I'll be doing some MCU stuff on that month. But yeah, next year I'll be doing a bunch of DC content. So yeah, expect some DC content next year. And yeah. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did not, just tell me, whatever. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to Movie Master for some more movie content. And just make sure to enjoy it. And yeah, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about movies. And yes, as I've said in my intro, I am Movie Master, where I rank, review, trailer react, and talk about movies, TV shows, and video games. And I haven't talked about TV shows yet, and I haven't trailer reacted yet. But you will see that one day on the channel. So yeah. But nonetheless, I'll see you later. Ciao.